One, two, three, action. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pronoia. This is episode 2 called The Law of Harvest. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about what the law of harvest means and how can we apply this to our daily life. My name is Caroline. I'm 20 years old, and I'm currently studying the USA Neuroscience and Finance, and this is my 3rd year in college. So, I'm a junior, but I have been in the USA for 4 years. So hopefully in this podcast you learn something new and learn about mindset. So let's start with the podcast. So what is the law of harvest? In the last episode, that if you haven't seen it, you should watch it, I talk about a little bit about my story and that I started reading inspirational books and motivational books since I was 13 years old. And in a lot of these books, they mention this topic called the law of harvest. So a lot of people have heard about the law of attraction and that our thoughts creates our reality and things of that sort. However, a few of us have actually heard about the law of harvest and what this means. So basically, the law of harvest says that in life, what we will reap, what we sow. So basically, what we grow is what we're gonna get, right? And this is true for everything we do in life, okay? So I will put a couple of examples. I think that the best example for this law is your physical body. Because in life, we have seen a bunch of like movies and things and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, well, I can take a shortcut. I can, rearrange a couple of things, but I'm gonna get to the same result. And reality, that's not how things work. Maybe in the outside it looks like, oh, you're succeeding and you have success, but in reality that thing's gonna disappear really quickly, right? And it's because the goal of achieving your goals is not to get to your destination, but it's the journey that you have to go through, the things that you have to learn in the journey, and especially the person you have to become to achieve your goals. There is a quote that says, when you get your first million, getting the million is not the important part, is becoming that person to get your first million. And this is true for everything else, right? So I'm gonna put 2 examples here. I have this sad little plant that died because right now it's the winter in Michigan, so it's really cold. But this is my plant and it died because I didn't took well care of it and because it was too cold outside. So yeah, right now it's like this. Hopefully in the future it recovers. However, I have this beautiful set of flowers. As you can see, is a bright and shine. The only difference is that this is fake and this is real, as you can see. A lot of times, especially with social media, we see only these. We see all the glitter, all the color, but in reality that is fake. That is not reality. When you achieve your goals, it's because you have to go through a long process of becoming that person. So you also have heard of the law of Newton. I'm not gonna talk about physics here, but I think this applies for everything. One thing about positive thinking and these motivational books is that a lot of people are superstitious about it because they think, oh, it's just like random people saying dumb bunch of stuff, like they don't know what you're talking about and things like of that sort. And I'm a person who tries to be very objective and scientific, so everything that I believe in or do, I also need to be sure that what I'm doing is kind of truth. So I like to investigate things, right? And I like to confirm things from different perspectives, not just the spiritual side of things. So for example, with the law of harvest, that is, we get what we give. This applies also to scientific laws. So we have the 3rd law of Newton, which says every action has a reaction, right? And this applies for everything. If you do something, you're gonna get something. Maybe you don't get what you want to get, you get what you're given, right? So you can apply the 3rd law of Newton into this law of harvest, that you're gonna get what you plant and what you do. So this is also goes hand in hand with the law of expectation. So the law of expectation says this: we don't get what we want, but what we expect. We have to believe that when we want to achieve something, we have to believe in it, because if you kind of trick yourself and convince yourself that you're gonna get that job, that career, that person, whatever it may be that you want to achieve, how are you going to convince the rest of the world? That you need to be confident first yourself, and then the world is going to see your confidence, and then it's going to give you what you demand. But if you cannot convince yourself that you're worth it of those things, no one is going to give it to you. So that's also really important, and it goes hand to hand with the love harvest, which basically is, you have to trick yourself into believing that you deserve the things. You have to take action, and then you will receive what you did. One big example of this is your physical body. So when you see someone, you can see their physique and you can say, oh, this person works out or this person doesn't, because your physical health is something that you cannot change regardless of how much money you have. First, you can get surgery, but all of us recognize a natural body, and when we see someone who's strong, who's ripped, we say, wow. Why? Because you know the hard work that is behind that six pack or whatever they're benching, because that takes consistency. And I can tell you, if any of you go to the gym, you know how hard that is. Like, you know that getting a six pack is really hard. You know that benching whatever pounds is hard, because you have to be consistent with those things. And you cannot just pay someone and say, hey, look, there is $1,000, give me a six pack. It's something that you have to work for. And this is the same with everything else in life. And people don't understand this, and I think that's why a lot of people get frustrated and they don't see results, because maybe you're working really hard, but maybe you don't know where you're working towards. So if you're walking down the wrong path, you're not get to your result. Doesn't matter how hard you're working in that path. So first, before you start to go to a route or take your path, you have to stop and then clarify your goals mentally, then write it down, and then develop a plan step by step of what things you have to do to achieve to your goal, and then work hard towards those things. An example in my personal case is when I wanted to learn English. You cannot learn a language just paying someone. Well, yeah, you can get a tutor, but what I'm saying is that you're gonna say, hey, look, there's $1,000. Now give me your skills for me to speak English. No, I can teach you my skills and I can teach you how to learn it, but you have to put the hard work day by day until you get the language. And this happens to me, and I mean, I'm still learning, of course, but I learned English I'm around a year, when I was 16 years old. And I had to work really hard. Like right now, you hear me speaking, and maybe you, of course, have noticed my accent, and maybe I'm making some mistakes because I'm still learning. But I remember when I was 16, I didn't know how to speak or say anything. I was just saying nonsenses. And every single day, I keep doing it more and more and more until I got the language. And now I keep improving. But when people see me say, like, oh my God, you speak English so well, or this or that, it's like, thank you. And yeah, because I try until I got it. And that's the same with everything. So it is very important to know that what we do in life, we will receive. And this is not only important in a sense of results, it's also in when you are a good person. I believe in karma. I'm not like, you get what you deserve. Well, kinda. But I do believe in karma. What is karma for me? It's not like, if you do something bad, that the universe is going to give that thing back to you. I believe in it in the sense of, if I do something wrong to someone else, I'm in that state of like energy. So that's going to come back to me somehow, right? So that's the same thing. If you focus on good things, you have to focus on helping other people and doing things for others, then you're gonna get those things in other shape or form. So that's the importance of working hard towards your goals, knowing what your goals are, and being consistent with it. You cannot cheat your goals. Maybe you can cheat people, maybe you can cheat getting money quickly or things like that, but at the end, you're gonna go down the hill because you didn't become the person you needed to be to climb the hill. You just took the shortcut, but there is no shortcut for your goals. There is a quote that says, the fear that you're avoiding is the life that you want, right? And it's like the things that you don't want to do, that you're trying to avoid, that you're procrastinating, is the things that you want, is the life that you want, and the life that you deserve if you work hard for it. So my advice to you, and also a personal note, is Know what you want, develop a plan, and be consistent with your plan, because there is no shortcuts to success or to anything in life. Just the sooner you start, the better. There is a quote that says, the best time to start something was 20 years ago, the second best time is right now. And that's completely true. So don't compare yourself with other people. Then that's something that is in social media. Sometimes we look on social media and we see someone who is like probably like me, 20 years old. And you see all these TikTokers that are like literally 15 years old with 1 million subscribers and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my God. And you start comparing yourself with them and all these things. And it's like, no, you cannot do that, because all of us have different lifestyles. All of us have different backgrounds. And that kind of like doesn't determine our results, but determines our beginnings, right? It is not the same if you're born with all these things and other person is not. That doesn't mean that the other person cannot be successful, like not at all, but that means that the person has to go through a different path to achieve their goal. So don't compare yourself with others. Don't think like, oh my God, they did this. No, mind your own business, do what is best for you, and remember that you cannot cheat on life. You're gonna get what you put into. And that's also connecting with another law, which is the law of correspondence, meaning that you're getting paid in a philosophical way for the amount of work that you put in, right? For the amount of work that your work is worth. So maybe you're working really hard, but your work can be easily replaceable. That's why you get paid not as much. And that's like, for instance, like sadly with some workers that work like constructed buildings and stuff like that they can be replaced pretty easily, and that's why they don't get as much money, although they're working the whole day. However, maybe a CEO doesn't work really hard, but they have to make 2 or 3 important decisions, so they're getting paid based on the worth, the kind of input they're putting into society. So I'm not saying it's fair, I'm saying that it is what it is. But this is the law of correspondence, which is you get what you give, right? Which connects with the law of harvest. So yeah, I put you maybe thinking a little bit today. I hope that you liked the video. But before I finish, I will read my quote. But before I read my quote, I remember another thing. And the last law I'm going to talk about today is the law of substitution. So in order to achieve what we want, we have to be focused on our goals. I'm studying neuroscience, and one thing that we learn about the brain is that your brain, can multitask, right? Like can do a bunch of things at the same time. However, it doesn't do it effectively. Like you have to do something at a time, put your full attention and your full focus on it, and then you will advance. If you look at it, when you have a laser has a lot of power because it's a bunch of energy concentrated in a small dot. And that's the same like a flashlight. The difference is that the flashlight focuses on a bigger area. That's what the power and the strength is not the same as a laser, right? So this is the same with your brain and with your capabilities. If you're focusing on too many things, you're not gonna do anything good because you're dispersed. So in order to do something, you have to focus on something. Just focus in that thing and do it the best that you can. And another thing with the law of substitution is that you can only focus one thing at a time. So if you focus on the bad, you're only going to attract the bad. However, if you focus on the good, you're going to attract that. You cannot think good and bad at the same time. You have to choose one or another. So every time you're thinking of bad things, just substitute it for something good. Every time you're procrastinating, doing something, you cannot procrastinate and be actively working towards something at the same time. You're doing one thing or the other. You cannot be watching a movie and read a book at the same time. You're doing one thing or the other. So it's really important to focus your attention and to substitute those behaviors, those routines that doesn't work for you, and changing it to something that's going to be worth it for you and is going to get results in the end. So to finish this podcast for today's episode, the quote that I'm going to read today is by Ralph Waldo Trine, which was a writer and a philosopher, and it says, "A man carries his success or his failures with him. It doesn't depend on outside conditions." Thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.